When I started as an engineer 30 years ago, I was saying at that time that somebody without any methodology was nobody.
I noticed this while collaborating together. Everything in your business, Steve, is a process, is a structure, is a clear idea of how to do things.
One story I'd like to tell you, Mo, and tell our audience is that with one of my ventures that I spend a lot of time in, and this is where I learned the most, we built a digital radiography system for veterinarians and chiropractors.
Because I work with many clients, I know the good side and I know the bad side. I know the people who are really implementing this, and I know those who are not. And of course, those who are not, I reach out to them. Hey, by the way, I'm confused.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Make Tech Work, Unplug Entrepreneurs. Mo Echout and Steve Johnston as co-hosts on this, I would say, hopefully a value-packed episode about the power of systems, building systems that will help your company to be better and better and better. I have so many things to say about that. This is my bread and butter. This is how I help companies like every single day. And I'm building that in my own companies as well. But before jumping myself, welcome, Mo. And what do you have to say about the building a systemized company based on processes? One of the bad words that people don't like, processes.
Thank you, Steve, for that amazing introduction. And let's bring a little bit of the energy with our team, with people that are listening to us, with our family. So we have the Make Tech Work family that is attending currently or listening or watching our podcast. And we're so happy. We're so grateful to have you all as part of our family, as part of our team. And today we're going to be talking about system and processes. And I'm going to answer your question, Steve. What a beautiful question. I love it. I embraced it. Thanks to you, Steve. And I'm so grateful for you. Thanks to our collaboration, and we worked on many projects together, I was able to see the true value of systems, to see the true value of projects, and to understand that behind every successful entrepreneur is a system, is a scalable system, is a set of steps that will take you from point A to point Z. Very pragmatic, very systematic, no emotions. Follow the plan if you want to grow your business and if you want to grow your company. And obviously, Steve, you are the master of systems, and you are going to bring so much value to our listeners today. Maybe to start, Steve, I would ask you a question. So let's say, for example, we have so many listeners who are beginners, who are just starting with the process, who are just, dancing with the concept. So how do you define systems?
Thank you. And that's a great question. And by the way, when I started as an engineer 30 years ago, I was saying at that time that somebody without any methodology was nobody. Because in engineering, if you want to debug stuff, especially with electronics and software, you need to find a way to converge and find a solution. So if I make this kind of early experience and bring that to the answer to your question, first of all, many entrepreneurs, they are building the company to be dependable on them. They don't realize they do that. But sometimes, unfortunately, egos are part of the equation. They are good at doing a few things, and they want to keep everything with them instead of trying to write it down in a very simple manner, nothing complicated. I'm not talking about documents that entrepreneurs don't want to do. I'm talking about like having something written in a word, like having a sequence of things that you can follow and train other people to do it, either internally or externally as freelancers, but not building a company depending on yourself. You need to put your ego aside and just do it. Because if you want to grow, if you want to scale, you don't want to have every problems or every issues or every even actions or tasks coming back to you, because you will work for the business. You won't work on the business later on. So I'm sure you heard that before, Mo, but maybe for our beginners, they didn't. So that's important. You need to have time to be out of your business and think about the strategy. We were talking offline that I'm always reprioritizing my stuff almost like half a day. Like I'm starting in the morning, and at lunch I say, okay, I got some changes. I need to change it. And I have so many ideas and so many requests and so many things happening at the same time. I need to do that. So again, if I was doing everything alone, I would feel that I would have worked a lot during my day because I worked like 12 hours. But in fact, did I work in a smart way? Did I think about scaling up? Did I train somebody? Did I find a way to save time the next time just by saving a few example with AI? Let's give it a small example. You're doing a prompt. It works really, really well. You said that prompt. So I save it as a chat within a project and OpenAI Pro. So this way, when I come back, I can just repeat same for this, same for this. So I'm saving a lot of time. This is a small thing. And also when I will be ready to delegate that to somebody, I can invite that person as a team member and he goes, look at that chat, go there and just keep doing the same thing. So this way it's going to be my thing done by them with their hands, their brain. So it's still my authenticity that is going to be there. And I know that I can leave and sleep well. Everything works fine. So yeah, don't put your ego on the side and delegate, train. It could be a tool, could be a person, it could be a freelancer. So whatever, but delegate and move on. You need to build stuff, delegate, it works, move to the next one. I like to say that some companies, some entrepreneurs are one process away to be successful.
Wow, that's such a beautiful statement, Steve. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I noticed this while collaborating together. Everything in your business, Steve, is a process, is a structure, is a clear idea of how to do things. I rarely get confused. If there is a question, I ask you, of course, but everything is clear. I know where to go. I know where to write the document. Like, you are a master collaborator. You are a master at creating systems and processes. And I noticed that. And because I work with many clients, I know the good side and I know the bad side. I know the people who are really implementing this, and I know those who are not. And of course, those who are not, I reach out to them. Hey, by the way, I'm confused. I'm always asking them questions, etc. So there is that communication channel. But with you, Steve, I was like, man, Steve knows what he's doing. Wow, I was impressed in a really good way. And trust me, not everybody's following your strategy. And I think that's why you're successful and that's why your business is scaling so rapidly without any issues. I noticed, Steve, and maybe I share this and then I will perhaps let you dive deep into the concept because of your experience. Obviously, you have so much more experience in that topic than I have. I noticed that documentation is important. You have to document your processes and steps. Documentation to enable that decoupling, to enable that removal of Steve from the business. So Steve can go do another work, do another task, do another business, and send the document to Mo, so to me, so I can do it without Steve being there with me, monitoring me 24/7. So documentation is important. And perhaps, Steve, let me ask you, how did you come up with this idea? Was it a book? Was it just the work that you did with your co-founder previously? Please share with us. We would love to pick your brain.
Yeah, I can be long on this because so many things have been in the evolution. Let's start I'm an electrical engineering, mainly electronical engineer. So, with electricity, you're dealing with things that you never see and I will never see in my future, meaning electrons, protons, and chargers and everything. So you need to trust the tools that are looking at certain things, and the tool can be badly set up and you don't see it. So basically what I'm saying is you need to either find a way to, what is your debugging process, where you need to go and how you can remove certain things and just focus on the right thing to get to what you want without knowing exactly where you're going. You know what you want to achieve, what is the objective is to find a solution, fix the problem, get this idea out in the market. If we talk about, example, a company, but it's tough. So you need to find a way and need to be able to adapt your way. And what I realized the most important piece is when you have something documented, when you have something that the sequence, you can improve it. If you go in an artistic way and just, okay, today is going to be this, today is going to be that, because this customer demands this and this customer demands something else. So I cannot do this to this customer. That's not true. What you can do is you develop a process for this customer. You do the same thing for this one, and you look at what could be common. What's common? Sending this email is pretty much the same thing. I'm using the same tool. So, okay, what's common and what's not common? So the things that are not common, are they close to each other? So they are a way. I won't go in details, but a practical way, just look at different processes and look what can be common. So this way you have a streamline, something streamlined and common. And the specificity of this customer is maybe some branches along the way, but not too many. And sometimes when you do that, you realize also that the future customers that you're going to bring in, you are going to explain them the process and bring them to the common streamlined approach. So this way you'll know that this customer will be more profitable, less out of your business model. So you need to have something that is common, because if you have like 20 different things doing roughly the same, I mean, you need to sit down and just think about it. And one story I'd like to tell you, Mo, and tell our audience is that with one of my ventures that I spend a lot of time in, and this is where I learned the most, we built a digital radiography system for veterinarians and chiropractors. And when I started, and I was doing the sales myself. So I was following a certain sequence. It wasn't written down at all. But when I started to hire salespeople, one in Canada, one in the US, and I realized, okay, I'm going to write down my sequence. I'm going to give that to them. And if you had seen their eyes when they hear about a sequence, a system for sales, we are salespeople. We don't follow any rules. We just go ahead, and it's our talent. It's my talent as a salesperson. So I don't need this, Steve. Okay, I said, let's build that together. We were three of us. I bring my own, let's say, skeleton, my own approach, ready to be open and add a few things. And we just moved the things around based on the sequence of how we can bring the topics, because we had a big box, and the big box was a bit scary. So we brought, example, the big box view, or the image, mostly 3/4 down the presentation. So this way, we would have sold all the advantages of the product, and eventually you sold the fact that it's big. They said, but why did it show up? Why did it show that to them? Because we didn't want them to receive the box like 3 months later and say, what is that? It is so big. So we were managing the expectations without affecting the sales process. And the rest of the presentation was going back to the advantages and share the price. Example, I'm going quick here, but we developed that and we tested it. So my approach is the sales process was 80%, like the Pareto principle, 80%, a system, and 80% the talent of the salesperson. So this way, what happens as a company, the company was not depending on them to sell. It was the process and their talent. So if a salesman was about to leave or leave the company, I can hire somebody, train that person on the process, and just leave the talent for the 20%. So this way, scalability, redundancy, the future of it. And we are investors. So we didn't want to slow down because of one person was leaving, and they were not able to, let's say, hijack us on the raises and all these things because they were so important. So I guess that story makes me laugh, because salespeople with processes usually doesn't fit together. But I can tell you, it's doable. And we were sitting in Canada in our office and doing WebEx webinar at that time to people living in the US and buying our systems at very high ticket prices. So I can tell you that the power of the system at that time, being like far away from our customers, we were killing it.
Let's go. I love it. I love it, Steve. And I also noticed the same with my sales process as well. I always make sure to classify, because I'm an AI engineer, a software developer. So there is a model, or there is a machine learning algorithm called classification. And simply put, for our listeners, it is a machine learning model where you can classify things into different categories. So you can take, let's say, clients, and you can classify them to high value clients, low value clients, medium level clients, and find out the attribute that will enable you to make this classification. So the way that I use the system approach here, the system methodology here, is that I am using AI tools, and I'm giving these AI tools some of the knowledge that I have acquired over the years, and using the AI tool in order to understand how to classify my clients. And initially speaking, when I started working with different clients, I noticed that I worked mainly with low level clients. And when I say low level clients, these are low ticket clients. So small projects, small prices, short turnaround. So it was very small. Then I upgraded to medium. Then I upgraded to high. And now I'm only working with high level clients in all my projects. And the way that I did that is that communication style, the process, the way that you approach your clients is different. The way that you're approaching somebody who's going to work with you with a $500 project is not the same as approaching an individual that will work with you with $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 project. It's two different communication style, two different meeting style, two different processes, and you need to be prepared 10x more for the high ticket sales than, let's say, a small project, etc. So there is differences there, and I always document everything. So even in my proposals, even the way that I build these proposals, the way that I send them to the client, there is a process and I know exactly how to do it. Early on, I used to rely on my memory because I can remember everything. So everything during the day, I can remember it. I was blessed with an amazing memory, but I understood that we're human beings. We're limitations. We have limitations. Hey, man, sometimes we have good days. Sometimes we have bad days. It is what it is. So I made sure to write everything down so I can just go, okay, client A, I put the model in. I have a Python model. I just type in the attributes and the model and I get the output. So based on your data, this client is a medium level client. Automatically, I go to Google Drive. I have the process. This is what you do. Pam, 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 A, B, C, D. And every time I follow the sales process, it works. I close the deal without any issues. I have a 99.99% closing rate. Why? Because I have a system. Before, I was all over the place. Wow. I was confused. To be completely honest with you. And I'm grateful because I learned this from you, Steve. The way that you do business is inspiring. And I'm so happy that we get to share that with our listeners and they can see how they do it. So, Steve, let me ask you another question. I know I'm bombarding you with questions today, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you. So, let's say, how would you help a small business owner, somebody that just started, that never used processes before? What's the first step based on your experience that they can follow? So, somebody's listening to us from the basement. I know that you love this concept. Somebody from the basement who just started a tech company, and they're confused. They're just watching Make Tech work for you, and they're just, thank God this episode exists. I'm going to learn a lot. So, Steve, help our friend.
Yeah, good. Thank you. No, good question. What I suggest to people starting out and not knowing exactly where to start is try to make sure they are out of the daily work. Try to bring them out as much as possible. Again, it could be to delegate to somebody. They get to say, yes, but I don't have the money for that. Okay, great. So is there a tool that can help you to go faster? And I mean, having documents pre-populated, example, it's not that complicated to do now. You need to learn it. And obviously you need to use spare time to do that. But the advice that I got the best positive comments after I gave that, and it was kind of a realization after the fact for me, because I'm every day into that, is take your cash cow service or product, whatever you do, meaning that the thing that brings you the most amount of money or will do, or maybe you have only one, and take it from beginning to the end. And perhaps there's something, somebody calls you or you have an email coming from your website or something very simple, and you need to do a lot of stuff just to deliver that thing. And you make 20 to 40% margin on it, but you worked hard on it. So if you just started and you want to build the process to improve it, write it down. Write it down like a visitor comes to my contact page or my CTA call on that page. I'm receiving it. I received the email with this information, and document the process you do. The least efficient one, the one you do now. But by doing that, you'll understand, holy shit, I'm spending so much time on this and this and that. And after that, just keep that in your mind. Say, okay, I want to scale up. I started this company to make more money. And I realized, okay, but if I sell 100 of those, I mean, can I keep up? No. So what you're going to do, hire people? Okay, if I hire people at this average salary, I mean, I won't make more money. At the end, it will be like only a fair percentage. So you need to figure all that out about scaling up. You need to think about that 10x. Like I read a book from Dan Sullivan and Dr. Hardy. It was about X is easier than 2x, meaning that if you think you double, you'll do some actions and you will figure out a way to double it. But if you think X, you will think differently and it would be pretty much the same effort, roughly, maybe a bit more in my opinion, and you'll get to 10x. And you'll go through 2x, but you'll be ready for another 5x on top of it. So I think that you do your process, you think the long run, you say, okay, now I need to automate this. I need to automate that. I need to delegate this. But just write down your first initial process and you will find a way to automate it. Maybe you think that, no, I won't figure that out. You'll figure something out, or at least you will see where the problems are, where the inefficiencies are. And from that, you can hire somebody to help you to do that. And hopefully with this free practical tip podcast will provide you the information that you can do it yourself or through an education platform that we're working on, something that will come.
Wow, I love it, Steve. Great input. And perhaps to follow up, Steve, I will share with our audience and listeners how they can use the system approach and the system methodology in order to learn new concepts and new tools. So there is perhaps a science behind the madness. And hear me out for 1 second and 1 second only. So let's say, for example, you want to learn a new tool, a new technology. Step one, test your level. So go to any generative AI tool in the marketplace and ask the tool the following prompt. Test me on topic A. So you're going to be tested. The tool, let's say ChatGPT, will ask you a question. You have to write to answer it, or multiple choice question or whatever. And then after 20 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on the test format that you're going to get, you're going to get a grade, A, B, C, depending on how you perform. And then after that, you need to pick topics that are within your level. So let's say if you are a complete beginner, you have to pick courses, topics, books that are going to reinforce your learning within that level. And then after that, go back to the test, take the test again, and see if that new knowledge helped you improve and cut on the learning curve, or helped you perhaps remove some of your blind spot. So I think learning is a very pragmatic system if you think about it, but you just have to have a way to test. And this is where we see a lot of tools in the marketplace about reinforcement learning, where an AI tool will be learning from its mistake, and then based on those mistakes, improving the accuracy, improving the performance on the AI tool itself. And that's something that a lot of people will do. So please, anytime that you're learning new concepts, start with the test, learn what you're missing, go back to the test, and keep doing until you are a perfect score in that particular test, which means that you have acquired the knowledge completely. And don't shy away from complex concepts, especially if that concept is new, something that doesn't make any sense. And as Steve always says, it's always a good idea to be a lifelong learner. So it's always a good idea to learn as much as possible. Learning is, I think, is the oxygen of the brain. It's the beautiful juice that will enable your brain to think, to grow, to have many conversations with different people. If you have new ideas that you share with individuals, and why not with technology, which is a magical digital world. So perhaps, Steve, I will ask you a question. So the system approach that you are following, that you're working with your client, with different individuals, how does it help companies and some of your clients that you work with scale their business? What is the link between the system approach and scalability for small business owners?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The scalability is necessary because at the beginning the company is too much depending on the founders usually. So you need to find a way to scale up and delegate and move on, as I explained. So in terms of the processes, what another example that I did many times, and I think the first time I did it was 10 years ago with the tools we had at that time to improve the operations. Because, I mean, the employees or freelancers or whoever you hire are going to execute certain pieces. And even small startups or small businesses, they could have some complex operations. It's not because it's a small product or a big product or software. So sometimes with digital enabled companies selling digital products, it's fairly simple because the tools are all made to do that. But if you have some pieces that are not necessarily all on the cloud, all on software, you need to figure out how to make things around and how to connect these tools together. So it's the operations piece, without going in details about how to divide, because there are some specificities, but you need to think about process, people, and technology when you think about that. Basically, you can think that because we have this title, Make Tech Work, that the tech is the most important thing. No, the technology is a tool. The tools are only like a hammer. If you don't take the hammer on the wrong side, it won't operate like a hammer. So same thing with the tool. You talk about learning curve, about learning it. This is one thing. One thing that people forget is that tool needs to be configured. I mean, the tool doesn't do it by itself. You need to configure it either with your branding kit. It could be with certain processes. You need to figure out certain things that you're doing, example, manually, that you need to bring into that tool. So you need to configure it in a sense. You need to bring users. So basically, the technology is there, but the process piece of my triangle, it's not my triangle, it doesn't come from me, like people, process, technology, it's a concept. And the process piece is you have your own process, you have your own system now. I'm convinced it can be improved, but take it and see if it fits in the technology you want to use. If it doesn't, is it the right tool? Is it the right way of doing it? You need to figure that out. But also, when you select the best tool that fits your actual process, because fortunately, I mean, if you do these things, they are working. They aren't efficient, but they are working. So once you have this tool already in place, now the tool has new features that you can take advantage of. Modify your process to take advantage of the new tools. So there is a back and forth process or approach between the process piece and the technology. And the most important piece is people.
Wow.
The people are acting on the process. The people will need to adopt the new technology.
True.
So you need to involve the people as soon as possible in your process, so they will feel that this new tool is the way to improve so many things for a company, but for them as an employee, as a worker, as a user. So I like to call it the user gain. They need to have a gain to convince them to participate in the new endeavor, but also to adopt the new tool. Because at the end of the day, all the work you do, selecting the tool, looking your processes, improve the processes, configure the tool, make sure it's adapting, all these things are great. But if the people using that tool, they don't adopt your tool,
yeah, there is nothing there.
You did it for the wrong reason. I mean, you did it right. So basically, that's one of the reasons why 70% of digital transformation are failing, because the people don't adopt it and they go back to what they were doing. So you need to influence them, convince them, sell them the new idea by bringing them to the discussion. The most important people are users. And with people, going back to what you said, training, and building a knowledge base. What is a knowledge base? We can talk about that by itself. But basically, it could be so many things. It could be documents, but I like to use videos. I like somebody who look at the processes and the tool and divide in a very micro learning approach by doing small and short videos, well titled, in a central location where the users can train themselves before using the tool, but also can refer to it if they have an issue, and they can make suggestion about this. And by doing that, if you have an IT guy or an IT team, depending on the size of your business, they should be trained on this tool early on, and they should become expert. They can serve the team. And you can also have some super users within your team that can help the other users along the way. And those super users are very familiar with the new tool, the old tools and the old processes and the new processes and the advantages and the user gain, so they can help you to implement. So all those ingredients are necessary to make it a success. And my success rate of digital transformation are very, very, very high. The only ones that didn't be successful yet, because they are on pause, because they need to absorb the new things before moving to the next step, because of this people, process, technology approach. That is a very simple concept. Perhaps people don't like concepts, but that helps to simplify the understanding and make sure you prioritize the right element into this to make it successful. But having a people-centric approach in a digital technological transformation is more important than the technology.
Absolutely, Steve. Absolutely. Amazing insights. And I believe you shared so much with our listeners, and they can get started as soon as possible just by, first of all, listening to us, getting the inspiration, getting some of the tips that you shared today, and they can start the implementation of these processes in the marketplace. Maybe another tip, in addition to what you shared, Steve, is if you already have a process in place, if you already have a system in place that is written in a document, that is drawn in a diagram, you can take it and give it to a generative AI tool and ask the tool, what is the most efficient way of doing the following process? What are some of the inconsistencies, some of the issues of the following process, and how can I do it better? So having a process obviously is beautiful, it's amazing, it's efficient, but efficiency, optimization, the art of saving time, resources, people's resources is another beautiful aspect of it. Because if you are efficient, that means you can create more, you can build more, you can scale faster. And I never, in my entire career, in my entire experience, had a process that was perfect. There is always something that you can tweak, Steve, and I love that concept. When there is a process, when when there is something that we do in the world and we come in and we do it a different way, and you're like, I never thought of that before. That's a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question to ask, and that's a beautiful answer to share. Yeah, you can actually do it this way. You open the door using this way, you can actually do it this way. Oh, really? That's amazing. That's interesting. So it's always a good idea to question the world, question your processes, question your workplace, be skeptical. I mean, being skeptical is free. Why not be skeptical a little bit and see what happens, you know? So yeah, I mean, what do you think, Steve?
No, that's a great tip, and this is what we want to provide as much as possible and as many times as possible over here. So, but in terms of the power of the systems in terms of the overall business, if we end up with like this, right now we talk about technology, process, people, and really optimizing operations mainly. I think this is what we covered the most in this podcast, this episode so far. But in terms of the entire organization, and we can go in length specifically on that one, is I like to think about the overall organization with systems. We have processes within the system. I don't want to overcomplicate things, but we need to architect this. We need to think about the business overall in the scale up. So example, you have your HR system, your human resource system. Okay, when I say system, I'm not necessarily talking about a tool. A system could be, how do you do it now? How do you hire people? How do you train the people? So you need to cover all the aspects of this and focus on that like for a certain period of time and build it, make it work, build the machine and use it, and having the people running it with you supervising it. Boom, done. After that, what is the financial accounting system? Oh, okay, this is the way we do it. I have my accountant, I have my fiscal guy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Oh, I'm doing so many things. Should I delegate and pay a bit more? So look at your accounting financial system. After, look at your marketing system. What do you do for marketing? What do you do for sales? So go and look and divide your business in multiple systems. Don't need to have too many. And within each system, divide that in processes, people, and technology. So this will look at them and each of pieces and make sure they talk to each other, by the way. This is important. But I mean, look at them one by one to improve within the ecosystem that is called your company. So if you think this way, you can be very Cartesian and divide stuff and go down to the root of the smaller pieces that you can understand. And you take back those small pieces, put them together like Lego blocks, and you build your system and you build your systems and you're building your company. That's the power of systems from my point of view.
Beautiful, Steve. I was so focused with you because you are dropping some knowledge, brother. Whoa, woo! Let's go. That's amazing. I'm so happy that we're gonna close the episode with your input, and I'll let you perhaps wrap it up, Steve. So, any last words as the system expert? And I'm so happy that you're here because, wow, so many amazing input. And I myself, as your co-host, I learned a lot. So hopefully our listeners, they also are taking notes because you're bringing so much knowledge.
Thank you, Mo. I'm learning as well from your practical tips, mainly around AI. It seems that you have a lot of ideas around AI, so I'm glad that I'm learning that as well. I'm going to use them, and hopefully our audience will take advantage of these things. So I would say that on the last word is quite simple, nothing new on the first statement, but yes, you can work hard, and yes, you should work hard, but at the same time, you need to work smart. And what I like to say is what differentiates my approach than other approaches is I'm always willing to do that 15, 20% more, not in time, in a way that the next time I do that thing or somebody does it for me, it will going to save time. And that 20% help me to scale up, help me to work on many projects, help me to serve more customers. And I'm always thinking about the scale up. So keep that in mind, scaling up, and 10x versus 2x. You can buy the book from Dan Sullivan, which is X is easier than 2x. And he has a bunch of other books that are very, very good. So think about the systems, processes, and people, process, technology. Put that in your mind, and that's going to help you a lot to build a successful company with successful products, services, and people, and have more time for your life, and you can go out and go for a run.
Absolutely.
Or have something equivalent.
I wish everybody, bye Steve, I wish everybody having a great week, and see you next week, and don't forget to go for a run.
Yeah.